Hi yogis, welcome to Limitless Yoga Studio Online. My name is Kelsey Wright, and today's flow is going to be targeting the outer hips. So kind of the areas where you would put your hands in your side pockets. They can be really grumpy because of sitting all day or because of hobbies like biking or running. The hips kind of tend to feel like they're in a vise. So everything that we're going to do today will be addressing that. So you'll leave here feeling great. For props today, you'll need 2 yoga blocks and either a tennis ball or a myofascial release ball. We're going to be massaging those outer hips. And then go ahead and organize your space. Put on any music that you want or lighting. Get it how you need. Get comfy. And as you roll on back, of course, you're welcome to start in any position that's comfortable for you. I'm going to go ahead and start in a position that brings a little bit of awareness to those outer hip muscles. So I'm going to have my knees bent, my feet planted. I'm going to wiggle the feet out about mat distance apart, maybe a little bit wider if you've got longer legs. And then I want the knees to cave in towards one another, not forcing them in any way, just letting gravity take care of this. And then you want to play with the distance not only between the feet, but also between the feet and the body. So if I bring my heels closer to me, this for me is personally is more comfortable to allow the thigh bones to kind of sink towards one another. So play with those different dimensions, figure out what feels best, and then go ahead and close down the eyes. Take a moment to unfurrow the brow, to drop the jaw, to drop the tongue. Check that the back of the neck is nice and long and the shoulders are heavy. As you breathe down the back line of the body, let's make sure that we're melting into our mat rather than holding ourselves upwards off of the mat. Breathe down the arms, making sure they're as heavy as possible, making sure we're not holding any energy in the fingers. Then as you deepen the breath to include the belly, the ribs, and the chest, make sure that you're finding your max capacity so that with each inhale, you're drawing in a little extra air, stretching out the lungs, and slowly, with control, exhale to squeeze out all the old air. Now, as I continue to build that breath, as I continue to use the entirety of the torso, 360 degrees around the waistline, I might be able to feel just a little bit on those outer hips, those pocket muscles. Could be a little bit of a stretch, or it could just be a little bit of awareness from the position that you're in. We're going to take just a few more cycles of breath here. We're trying to release any built-up tension from your morning or from your week. We want to do our best to set that aside so that we start as a blank slate. Take 3 more cycles of breath, the intention of bringing in the energy that you need for class, and then just seeing if you can't set aside the things that might be swimming around in the brain right now, the to-do list, the emails, the what's next. Last big cycle of breath to prepare. Inhale, gather up what you need for class. And on your exhale, do your best to set the rest aside so you can unplug. All right, fluttering open the eyes. If your knees are not bent, feet planted, go ahead and meet me in that position. We're going to windshield wiper the knees over to the right, heavy as you can. Just take a moment and notice how as that left thigh bone sags down into gravity, you're feeling a bit on that outer left hip. Then take the knees in the opposite direction, same thing. Feel this on the outer right hip. And then one more set over to the right. Notice how close the thigh bones are to the floor, not forcing anything. And then same thing on the left. Again, notice any sensation that you're feeling in the outer hip. All right, bringing it all the way back center. You're probably going to want to wiggle your feet just a tick closer. All right, bring the knees into the chest. Give yourself a big squeeze. We're going to wiggle the toes. We're going to roll out the ankles in both directions to get out the pops and the creaks. And then I really like to massage the low back, so maybe a little scrub right and left. Maybe some circles with the kneecaps. Just getting out any of the gunk from that low back area. All right, when you're ready, place the feet on the floor. I'm going to bring the right ankle on top of the left knee. We call this force stance. You're going to see this a lot in class. All right, keeping the belly firm, dynamically move the leg over to the left until you feel a tug on that outer hip, and then bring it right back to center. 2 more with a firm belly, over until you feel the tug, then bring it right back. 1 more, take it on over. And then bring it back. Keeping the belly firm, draw the shape into the chest. So you're using the power of your left leg to then feel the stretch on the outer right hip. We got 2 more here. Bring it in as far as you can, calf to chest, and then pause. All right, we're going to take it all the way over to the left. We're going to hold it this time. So try to keep that right shoulder grounded. Try to keep that knee moving away from you, pointing up towards the ceiling. Take a big breath here. Then firming up the belly, bring the knee back to center, bring it into the chest to hold. I'm going to wrap my hands around that left thigh bone. I'm going to flex both feet And then as I snuggle it in, again, using the power of that left leg, I can choose to stay here. Or if I move this whole shape over to the left a few inches, it's going to increase the stretch that I feel on that outer right hip. So feel free to intensify if you want. You've got a breath here. Then bring yourself back to center and set this shape down. All right, I'm going to take that left hand, grab onto that right ankle, pull it in. So very similar to what we just did without the assistance of the leg. And then I'm going to pull that footprint across the body and start to play with the angles a bit here. Something's going to feel better than something else. So I'm going to maneuver around. I'm looking for that big outer hip stretch. And then if you need a tick more, you're welcome to straighten out that left leg. Now that does make it a lot more. So if you decide against that, just bend it right back up and plant it. We're going to take one more big breath here. Again, feel free to play with those angles. And then as you release, you're going to plant the right footprint on the floor. Take the left ankle up, over, and across. You're in that 4 stance again. We've got 3 movements over to the right. Know that this side feels different, so you might not go as far or you might go farther. That's okay either way. Keep the belly firm here so you're not feeling anything in the low back. We got one more dip to the right, and then bring it back to center. Continuing to firm up the belly, bring this into the chest. Try to use the power of the right leg here to really bring that calf into the heart space. We got one more little snuggle it all in, and then pause. Now we're going to drop it over to the right and hold it here. Shoulders grounded, gaze is up. I'm still keeping that breath in and out the nose. I'm trying to push that knee away from here. Take a breath. And then bring the shape all the way back to center, keeping the belly firm. I'm going to bring it into the chest, wrap my hands around that right leg. And then I'm trying to use a bit more of my leg here so that I'm not straining on my arms and shoulders. Both feet are going to be flexed. If I decide I need a tick more, I'm going to move this over to the right a few inches. You'll be able to feel that intensify right there across that strap on the glutes to the outer hips. And then bring it all back to center and gently set it down. I'm going to take my right hand, scoop up that left ankle, bring this shape in, and then just pull the footprint across the body. Everyone's going to be different here, so play with the angles. Some of us, the knee to the heart is going to be the best. For some of us, the knee to the right shoulder is going to be the best. Maybe something in between. If you want to stretch out that right leg, that's absolutely an option. We've got a big breath here, really feeling that in that outer left hip. And then go ahead and release that leg back to center. We're going to bring both knees into the chest. Go ahead and kick the heels up and down just a little bit into the hamstrings here. Push through the heels, flexing the toes towards the shins. We got one more big push, and then we're going to hold, wrapping the hands around the thigh bones. Keep the belly firm. Keep the head, neck, and shoulders relaxed. We're going to take one big breath up the back of the legs. And then exhale, bend the knees. I'm going to rock and roll 2 or 3 times. I really want to bring some attention to each and every vertebrae of the spine, getting that body-brain connection that we want. And then I'm going to pop up all the way to a seated position. Once I'm here, I'm going to walk the hands as far forward as possible, keeping the sitting bones grounded. Once I have that nice long spine, I'm going to walk my hands over to the right with the idea of stretching out the left outer hip. So my left fingers might want to crawl further forward or further to the side in order to feel it all the way down to that left outer hip. Big breath here. On the exhale, bring yourself back to center, lengthen the spine for a moment, and then we're going to travel over to the left. So again, now that we're trying to pay attention to the right outer hip, you may want to take the right fingers further out or further to the side. Just play with the angles, find what's best for you. Make sure that right sitting bone is really pressed into the floor. Big breath here. And then one more time, back to center, get nice and symmetrical here. On your exhale, you're going to slowly roll up the spine 1 vertebrae at a time, keeping the chin on the chest. Once you're up, go ahead and roll out the neck. We want 360 degrees here, so go slow, don't miss any spots. And then at least 1 circle in each direction. Feel free to take more if something's feeling nice, something's feeling productive. And then once you're finished, sit up nice and tall. We're going to roll on over to hands and knees, so however you need to get there is fine by me. We're going to stack it up, shoulders on top of wrists and hips on top of knees. We're going to take a couple rounds of cat-cow. So getting all stacked up, spread those fingers out so you've got gloves and not mittens. On your inhale, gently drop the rib cage towards the floor. On your exhale, push into the palms, arch the ribs, and tuck the tailbone towards the nose. As you take a few of these big flowing motions, bringing blood flow from the head to the tail, just know that you've got a lot of pieces and parts along this structure, and we want to address each and every one. So make sure that each link in the chain is moving. Be mindful that we're trying to get movement to all of the pieces. Last one up and down, and then I'm going to meet you at a nice neutral spine, which means that your back is relatively flat, but your belly is also firm. We're going to take the hips and slide to the right. So just imagine your hips kind of getting sassy over to the right. You'll feel a bit of an outer hip. As soon as you have that, you're going to slowly drop the booty down towards the heels, creating a circle all the way to the left and then back to center. We're going to do another one of these, right and then down and left and back. And now the opposite direction, hang out to the left for a moment, kind of feel out where your tension might lie on this side, and then slowly circle it out. So just kind of getting that entirety of that arc of motion. One more, we got left, down, right, and back to center. All right, we're going to isolate the sides a little bit more. So take your hips over to the right and then choose the best angle for you. Then if you'd like, you can take that left foot and kind of curtsy across a little bit, reaching over, which will intensify this. So obviously don't do it if it's too much. Take a breath. And then slowly bring it back to center, switch it out. Make sure the knees are underneath the hips. We're going to sass over to the left, find the angle that's best for you. And then if you'd like a tick more, we're going to take that right knee, right leg, and curtsy over. Big breath here. All right, all the way back to center. We got one here on hands and knees. Take the right footprint up towards the ceiling. And as I curtsy across, I'm going to sass that left hip. I've got 3 of these, up and down, keeping a firm belly, up and down, feeling it on that outer left hip. Last one, up and down. Now I'm going to stretch out that right leg, toenails down, sweep it over to the left and take a peek around the corner. So I feel this not only in the right outer hip, but also the right side body. Bringing this back to center, let's switch it out. Left footprint up on the ceiling. We're going to take that little curtsy motion across, kind of aiming all the way to the very edge of our mat, or even maybe towards the floor on the other side of the mat. Last one here, stretching that outer right hip. And then we're going to extend out that leg, slide it over to the right, take a peek around the corner toward your toenails. Big breath to the left side body. Okay, bring it all the way back to center. Take a moment to square yourself off. Actively hug the thumbs in towards one another so the shoulder heads activate into their sockets. Step back into plank with your feet hip distance apart. Big inhale. Exhale, press back into down dog. Relax the chin to the chest. So feel free to walk out the calves if you need to, keeping the heels in line with the sitting bones. And then once you're feeling a little bit more comfortable in the lower body, go ahead and press equally through your heels, sitting bones reaching into the back of the room. Now shrug your shoulder blades up into your ears and then pull them down your back. Do this 2 or 3 times. We want 100% of the range of your motion. And then knowing what your 100% is, can you push to find 50 so that you're pushing, you're not shoving. Your shoulder blades are not in your ears, but nor are they locked down your back. We want to stay buoyant and supported in those shoulders. Okay, looking forward, take as many steps as you need to get to the top of the mat. Inhale, fingertips to shins. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise up, get nice and tall. And then exhale, hands to heart center. All right, we got 2 sun A's. Here we go. Inhale, reach up, rise up, get tall, fill up those lungs. Exhale, press it down, bend the knees if you need. Inhale, fingertips to shins. Exhale, step it on back into plank. Rock to the tiptoes and lower to the belly. Elbows in. Glue your toenails to the floor. Lift your belly button up off the mat. And then we're going to reach up for 3 cobras. So imagine putting the effort between your shoulder blades rather than any effort through your arms. We got one more. Roll it up, keeping the back of the neck nice and long. And then you're done. Curl the toes. Rise up into plank. Pause here. We're going to take the heels over to the right. Now stay strong and supported through the shoulders. And then take the heels to the left. Stay strong and supported in the shoulders. We don't want to sag down towards the floor. Okay? Bring it back to plank. Press it back into down dog to lengthen. As you look forward, you're going to step up with your feet mat distance apart, so a little different. Bend the knees, right hand center stage, left hand sweeps up. As I do this, press into the left heel. You're going to find a bit of that outer left hip stretch. Bend the knees to switch it out. Right hand comes up. Press into your right heel. Feel that outer right hip. Bend the knees, bring the hands down. Inhale, rise up, get tall. Grab a hold of that right wrist. You're going to shift up and over, allowing the hips to slide to the right so you feel a little extra through that IT band area. Bring it back to center. Grab the left wrist up and over. Allow the hips to slide into this. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, bend the knees as the hands come down. Pause here. Right hand stays. Left hand sweeps up. Press with that left heel. Bring it back down. Right hand sweeps up. Press into that right heel. Bring it down. You're going to step back into plank, so feet hip distance apart. Rock to the tiptoes, lower to the belly. Gluing your toenails to the floor. This time I'm going to take the fingertips out wide, so feel free to join me. As I rise up, the tendency is going to be to over squeeze the glutes, which cannot feel great in the low back. So as you come up again, the effort is in between the shoulder blades, those upper back muscles peeling yourself up off the floor, not trying to overuse the glutes. Last one up, last one down. Hands to the rib cage. We're going to pop up into plank. Okay? Stay right here, strong in the shoulders. Heels to the right. Now, staying strong and supported in the shoulders, can you drop that right hip until you feel a little bit of a tug on that pocket muscle area? Bring it back to center, heels to the left, strong and supported so we're not sagging. We're just dropping that hip a little bit to feel the stretch. Bring it back to plank and down dog. All right, one more time, I want you to step up with the feet nice and wide, about mat distance apart, bend the knees. Right hand down, left hand up. This time, as you press into the left heel without locking out the joint, maybe you choose to also press into the right heel to add a little intensity. Okay, bend the knees to switch it out. Right hand comes up. Press into that right heel. Maybe a little bit of addition to the left. Just make sure not to lock out the knees. All right, relax it on down. Inhale, rise up. This time, grab opposite elbows. Pull your elbows to the right so that your hips can sass to the left. Then bring it back to center and switch directions. Big sass of the hips to the right. Okay, inhale, rise up. And exhale, hands down by the sides. I'm going to collect the blocks, take them to the top of the mat about shoulder distance apart so we can get into our sun bees, get into our vinyasa if you have one. For me, I'm going to go ahead and modify my vinyasas and slowly kind of work through them. So if you're not quite sure what I'm talking about, just stick with me. I'll give you lots of options along the way. All right, continuing to work through these outer hips. I'll meet you at the top of the mat with the feet hip distance apart. Inhale, hands up overhead. Exhale, have a seat down in your chair. We're going to rise up with the right knee. Find that force stance that we talked about earlier. Hands to heart center as you bring it on down. Now, absolutely use the blocks if you'd like to, whatever height you'd like to, or even the floor for balance. Try to keep that right foot flexed. We're definitely feeling this in the outer right hip. Second side, inhale, rise up, bring the right knee with you. Exhale down into your chair pose, Utkatasana. Bring that left knee up with you, cross it on over, have a seat, and notice the difference between the sides. I know for this side's a little bit tighter, so I might not go down as low with the blocks or all the way to the floor. It's always important to recognize when the body's telling you something. All right, inhale, rise up along with that left knee, and exhale, one more chair pose. Take an inhale to stay, and an exhale to fold. Inhale, fingertips to shins, exhale, vinyasa. I'm going to step back into down dog, completely skipping that vinyasa, which is always an option through these classes. Inhale, right toes up into the sky. Exhale, kick this foot all the way between the hands, spin your back heel down, rise up, warrior two. We're going to put pressure through the heels, we're going to reach to the fingers, and we're going to stack the shoulders right on top of those hips. Take a big inhale to lengthen the spine upwards, exhale, flip, and reverse your warrior. Now, I want you to think up before you think back, so we're not just crunching into this low back area. One more inhale to up, one more exhale to back, and then side angle, dropping that right forearm or the right fingertips if you'd like. Be aware that that right hip is going to want to sass to the side, squeeze it up underneath you. Take a big inhale with a broad open chest. Good. Inhale, rise up to warrior two, where we started this whole thing. Straighten out the front leg, reach forward and down so that you're really lengthening through the crown of the head, getting space in the spine before you come down into the hamstring stretch. Lightly on the shin, the ankle, or the pinky toe side of the foot. Try to resist the drop of the head into gravity. Support it, take a big breath. And then exhale, bend the knee as the hands come down. Walk to the middle of your mat. You want heels and toes out here. We're going to rise up into goddess, and we're going to be adding on to this on the second side. So bring it on down. Put your hips back so you're hinging here at the hip creases. You've got the weight back in the booty, back in the heels. Your toes are almost light as if you were in chair pose. Take a big inhale here. Exhale, hands to the floor. As you walk forward, we're going to pause in that low lunge. My right hand comes up with a strong supported left shoulder. I'm going to slide the right foot halfway back. All 10 toes are pointed to the side of my mat. Keeping the support of my left shoulder, I'm going to drop that left hip just enough to feel that IT band talk to me. Take a big breath. And then exhale, hands come down, slide back into down dog. Lengthen it out, staying supported in the shoulders, not locking out in either position. Inhale, left toes up to the sky. Exhale, kick it all the way through. Spin your back heel down. Anchor into your heels as you rise up, and then pull those puppet strings right up into the ceiling. Take a big inhale here. Lengthening the spine, flip and reach, thinking up, 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 but keeping the shoulder blade down the back. One more inhale up, one more exhale back. And then take your side angle, dropping the left forearm or the left fingertips. Keep pressing through the heels. Keep that right hand straight in line with that shoulder socket. Big inhale. All right, rise up, pressing through the heels. Find your warrior two again before you straighten out the front leg. Reach forward and down, sliding down until you find your hamstring stretch. Now pressure to the ball of the foot so our toes are solidly grounded. Micro bending that left knee if necessary. Take one more inhale for me. Exhale, bend the knee, hands come down, walk to the middle of your mat. Goddess again, heels in, toes out, bring it up, sit your booty way on back, and we're gonna add on. So I'm gonna go and take my hands out of this. I want my right ankle to take a step on top of my left knee and have a seat, that funky chair. Feeling that on the outer right hip, I'm gonna go as low as I can, then come back to goddess, a big step, heels in, toes out. Get a stretch on the inner hips, and then I switch left ankle on top of right knee. Bring it down. It's helpful to have the gaze at something that's not moving, so a single spot on the floor. Once you find your max, bring it back up. Find one more goddess, bring it down low, and then hands to the floor. Walking it forward, pause in your low lunge. Left hand comes up, support with the right shoulder, slide back halfway, toes pointing to the side. With that strong shoulder support, only drop the hips, so we're not dropping into the shoulder here. Take a big breath, feeling that right outer hip. Then hands down, step back into down dog. Lengthen it all the way out. Looking forward, bend the knees, step or hop to the top of the mat. Inhale, fingertips to shins. Exhale, fold, chin to chest. Inhale, rise up, get nice and tall. Exhale, right back down into that chair. We're gonna bring that right knee up again, up, over, and across, have a seat. So this time, we're gonna kind of have this waterfall effect of the upper body grabbing the blocks, lowering them, or even coming down to the floor. And then we're gonna roll up, reach up, rise up, and then we're gonna come right back down to that chair. Find your max, whether it's the blocks or the floor. Come right back up, one more. So you're hinging at the hips, finding your funky chair, and then taking this little waterfall fold forward. This time as you rise up, bring the right knee with you, settle down into your chair, second side. Bring the left knee up, bring it into your funky chair. And then again, this little waterfall motion of blocks, kind of finding out on this side what you got. And then inhale, rise up, nice and tall, firm belly. Exhale, hinge at the hips, pressure through that right heel. Find your fold, whether it's blocks or floor or something in between. Last one, bring it all the way up, bring it all the way down and find your max. All right, this time as you come up, bring the left knee with you, settle down into your chair for an inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, fingertips to shins. Exhale, your vinyasa. This time I'm going to modify by going plank, dropping the knees, broadening the chest, tapping the elbows to the ribs with a really firm belly. From down now, I'm going to lengthen, keeping that shoulder buoyancy that I need. Right toes up in the sky. All right, kick this foot all the way through. Keep your back heel lifted. Punch into your heels as you rise up into crescent pose. Now draw that core in to make sure you're not hanging out in the low back. Give me a big inhale here. On your exhale, drop that right hand, reach up and over with the left so you're feeling this massive side body stretch all the way down into that outer hip. Inhale, rise up. On your exhale, get a bit lower as you spiral to the right now, really feeling it in the outer hips. Good. Inhale up one more time. Exhale, hands to heart center. Bring that left knee into the chest. My right hand, microphone just fell off. Excellent. The right hand's going to go to the thigh bone. Left hand's going to reach back behind you, and you're going to find your dancing Shiva. Hopefully that did not mess up too much. Yay. Real life. Kick through the heel if you'd like. Bring it all the way back. Set on down, hands down, toes down. All right, this time, as my right hand goes up, support the left shoulder. I'm going to bring it back, 10 toes to the side, just as before. But this time, I'm going to press into my right foot and hike my hips up nice and high, reaching forward until I feel the outer right hip. Push, 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 push. And then I'll bring it down, hands to drop, down dog, lengthen. All right, we're going to do the second side, same thing, and then we'll have a little rest in pigeon. Inhale, left toes up. Exhale, kick it through. Punch to the back heel. Rise up, reach up, find your crescent pose. Shoulder blades are down the back. Big inhale. Exhale, drop that left hand, reach up and over, finding that side body stretch all the way down to the right outer hip. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, spiral to the left as you get a little lower in the hips, feeling the outer edges. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, right knee into the chest. Left hand's going to scoop up the thigh bone. Right hand's going to reach back. Option of kicking through that heel. We'll spend an extra cycle of breath here since to even out the sides from the microphone mess up. And then bring it on down, hands to touch, toes to touch. All right. Support through that right shoulder. Left hand comes up, step back halfway, toes pointed to the side. With that right strong shoulder, I'm going to push even higher up so that left outer hip starts to talk to me. Reach up overhead, take a breath, and then hands down, step it back, down, dog. All right, here's our break in pigeon. Bring the right knee towards the nose, sweep the shin across the mat comfortably, drop the back knee, and wiggle it on back. So your outer right hip's definitely going to tell you when you've scooched back far enough. I'm going to check that there's a relatively straight line between my sitting bone and my big toe so I don't have that weird candy cane shape of my ankle. And then as I come down, I want to feel out to make sure that I have a relatively flat-ish low back so I'm not dumping over into my right side. Blocks can be used underneath the right hip to give yourself a little support so you don't have that slope. Or, of course, you can use the support underneath your forearm so you don't come quite as far down. Whatever you're choosing, try to relax into this pose and then focus on the breath. We've got just a couple big cycles here. Maybe you have the ability to breathe so deeply into the belly that you can feel the belly expand onto that right leg. Now for a moment, I want you to identify your left hip, and then can your left hip get just 1% heavier? So it's not a big flashy move, it's just a tiny bit of energy transfer, and it's gonna increase the stretch on that right hip. So one more big breath, just that 1% heavier on the left side. All right, bring it back up to the palms, firm belly as you curl the back toes, slide back into down dog to lengthen, second side. Left knee comes in, sweep the shin across the mat. Drop the back knee and then wiggle it on back. Pull through the big toe to find that nice straight line and then that relatively flat, low back. So the idea of pigeon is to have that really nice outer hip stretch. So right now, hopefully you're feeling it on the left, maybe with the support of the block. But the idea is not to wreck your knee in order to find that hip stretch. So just know that that bent knee, it should be comfortable, shouldn't have any kind of compression feeling or spikes of pain. We just don't want to over exaggerate one part of the pose that really isn't the emphasis of this pose anyway. So again, let's do that 1% transfer. Think about the right hip this time getting 1% heavier. Feeling the effects on the left outer hip for one more cycle of breath. And then as you come out of it this time, remove any blocks that you're using. You're going to get heavy on that left hip and swing the right leg all the way around. So you're definitely going to want your blocks for this. We're going to come into a double pigeon. I'm going to turn to face you for this. So we just did pigeon. This is double pigeon, double the fun, double the stretch. What we want to do here is take the right shin on top of the left shin. Now for some of us, our knees are going to say absolutely not. So what we want is this stack of blocks so that rather than shin on shin, we're going to put the foot on the block, which lessens the bend of the knee, makes things feel a little bit nicer in the joint. So don't feel like you have to really crank that knee in. Again, we don't want to damage the knee just to get a better hip stretch, okay? So find what works for you. Take a big inhale up the spine. You're going to turn your torso so that your nose is aiming towards that left knee, and then you're going to slowly start to walk out. So you have options here. If 2 blocks are best for you, go ahead. Some of us might just want the 1 block. Some of us, if you are stacked on the shins, but your knee feels like it's up high, then a little kickstand is nice. Again, so you're not feeling any kind of gunk in the knee. With each inhale, imagine the spine lengthening right out of the hips, so that with each exhale, you can slowly relax into the stretch, chin towards the chest, just melting the outer right hip. Right sitting bone is pinned to the floor as you're gently pulling away from it. These are like the deepest muscles of the pelvis. They're so very close to the center of you. So they tend to be a little grumpier than maybe their other hip muscles. As you slowly walk out of this, we're going to support that ankle with both hands. As you bring it out, feel free to shake it out if you need to, and we will switch sides. So I know that this left side's a little bit tighter for me, so sometimes I like to have that support of that block, or you can roll up a towel, stick it there, but just as we fold over, we don't want to press weight through a joint that's not really supported. So maybe you have your foot on a block, get what you need. Inhale, sit up tall. Turn your torso so the nose is aimed towards that right knee, and then slowly start your fold. Now, if your side is a little bit tighter like mine, I could really feel my left sitting bone just desperately trying to come up off the floor. So I'm going to put a little extra energy transfer, a little extra oomph there, and really push that left sitting bone down. If he just will not behave, I can always take my hand and offer a little support. I'm not pushing on my knee joint at all. I'm right there on that thigh bone, just kind of directing it downward so that I can pull away from it and get that really nice big stretch. Each inhale is to lengthen the spine, and each exhale is to relax into it, kind of ease into the pose. One more big breath. And then just as before, we're going to slowly come on out of this. We're going to make sure and use both hands to support that ankle on the way out, and then shake it out if you need to. Okay, I'm going to put the blocks back at the top of the mat where we started this whole thing. All right. And then we want to use those outer hips that we just stretched, and I want you to think about hugging them in so tightly that we're going to be able to stand up. So some of us are just going to stand up and meet me at the top of the mat. Others are going to take a couple rock and rolls to get some momentum to help you, or you're going to reach back, push through your heels, and then really use those hips to come on up to standing, okay? So any way you need to, meet me at the top of the mat. Maybe it's something you tuck away for later, a little yoga homework. Meet me with your feet hip distance apart. All right. Inhale, hands up overhead. Exhale, have a seat down in your chair. Okay, we're going to bring that right knee up with you, cross over, find your very best funky chair, fold over, grab the blocks or the floor, keep the foot flexed. One more big breath here. Then inhale, rise up, bring the right knee with you. Exhale, have a seat. Bring that left knee up, inhale. Exhale, settle down into your funky chair. This is the last one that we're going to do like this. We're going to add on a little twist here next. All right, inhale, rise up, get tall. Exhale, have a seat down in your chair. Inhale to stay here, pressure through the heels. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, fingertips to shins. Exhale, maybe step back into down dog. Maybe drop the knees for your vinyasa, or you can rock to the tiptoes, broaden the chest, elbows to ribs, flip the toes, firm belly, long neck, and then down dog to finish. Hey, inhale, right toes up in the sky. You're going to kick your foot all the way over to the left. Keep that straight leg. Push the toenails towards the front of your mat. Now just look over to your right, and you're going to feel this tremendous outer right hip stretch. One more big breath. Whew. And then sweep that right foot up into the sky. Kick it all the way back. Now punch through your heels. Inhale, rise up, get tall. Firm belly here. Hands to heart center. Knee to the chest. Find your funky chair. We're adding on that twist. As you sink down nice and low, slice your arms over, attaching the arm to the footprint, and then maybe open up your wings slowly, noticing how that twist adds a little intensity to the outer hips. Big breath here. All right, inhale, rise up, bring that left knee with you. We're going to push that heel straight back into warrior three, thinking about creating that letter T shape with the body. Big inhale to lengthen. And then exhale, hands to the blocks. Left foot is going to swing up, over, and across. Bend the knees a little bit. Walk the blocks to the left. Relax the chin to the chest. Now I'm going to let that right hip get sassy. And as I push the hip further away, I'm going to get that outer hip. Maybe I want to intensify this by dropping the blocks. Maybe I need to bend the knees more to give myself a little bit more slack. Take a big breath. All right. Bring those blocks back to where you found them. Take that left foot, step it all the way to the very back of your mat. Pause. We're going to walk to the middle of the mat and do a forward fold. Square off your feet. Stack the hips on top of the heels rather than letting the buns go way too far back behind the heels. Sometimes you can feel that a little bit too much in the sitting bone area. Relax the chin to the chest. We're going to hang heavy here for one more big cycle of breath. All right, as you walk forward, we're going to combine two movements that we've already done. So from our low lunge, the right hand comes up, strong support from the shoulder. We're going to step that right foot halfway back, toes to the side. Okay, as I drop the hips with support from the shoulder, I'm going to reach for the back of the room. As I hike my hips up nice and high, I reach for the front of the room. So two more, finding the outer left hip, pushing to find the outer right hip. One more down, one more up, hands to the floor, slide back, right foot in the sky. Take the right ankle to the left knee and walk it back. Bend the knees as soon as you can. Keep the hands in contact with the floor. So some of us are going to be able to walk back further than others. No worries. Take one more big breath as you press the knee towards the back of your room. And then find your way back. Wait for the strong support of the shoulders in down dog. before you step out of it. Last side, last set. This is it. Inhale, left toes up. Exhale, kick your foot over to the right. Nice straight leg as you push the toenails towards the front of your mat. Now just look over to the left. That's all it takes to twist the upper body in the opposite direction than the lower body and get a tremendous outer hip stretch here. Then with support of the shoulders, inhale, left foot up. Exhale, kick it through. Now punch through your heels. Wrap the core into the spine as you rise up, crescent pose. Big inhale. Exhale, hands to heart center, knee into the chest. Find your funky chair. Bring it down nice and low. Pause, wait for your stability. Then slice your arms over. Connect the arm to the footprint. Maybe you choose to open up your wingspan. Continue to press through that left footprint, especially the big toe for support. We're going to come out of this by inhale, rising up, bring the right knee with you. Exhale, kick it back, creating that nice level low back in our warrior three. Biceps next to ears. And then exhale, hands to the blocks. We're going to kick this right foot up over and across. Stay buoyant in the knees as you walk your blocks to the right. I'm going to relax the chin to the chest. Sass this left hip towards the side. And then decide if you need a little less, let's bend the knees. Or maybe you need a little more, take the blocks down and find what's appropriate for you. Just know that your sides are always different, so don't try to push one side into the exact same position as the other. We got one more big breath here. All right, walk those blocks on back to center. We're going to step the right foot all the way to the very back of the mat. We're going to pause here. Left hand comes up. Support with the shoulders as you find a half step back, toes pointing to the side. As I drop my right hip, I'm going to reach back. As I arc up, I'm going to reach forward. So it's down and back for the outer hips as well as up and forward for the outer hips. One more down, one more up, hands down, step back, left foot in the sky. Bring that ankle on top of the knee. We're going to walk it on back. Pause when you need to. Bend the right knee as soon as you can so the whole footprint's on the floor. And then try to relax through the head, neck, and shoulders. And one more big breath here, pushing that knee towards the back of the room. All right, slowly walk yourself back to the top of the mat. Wait for that good down dog support of the shoulders before you step out of the pose. Take a big inhale, lengthen out the spine. And then exhale, drop the knees. I'm going to keep the toes curled under, get a little bit of a foot stretch here. You're welcome to keep the hands on the mat, maybe working up to the thigh bones or no hands. We want knees in line with hips, heels in line with sitting bones. Now, be aware that not very many humans find this stretch comfortable, so don't worry about it. But it should be productive, not painful. So make sure that you're in a situation where you can take one more cycle of breath, getting a good healthy stretch on the back, the bottoms of the feet. All right, bring it forward, wiggle out the toes, and then go ahead and find your myofascial release ball or your tennis ball, and then meet me on the booty. All right, so if you have a wall available to you, you can kind of scoot your back up against a wall, which might be nice to take some of the weight off of the wrists. Completely up to you once you see what we're going to be doing. So I want the ball in my right hand. I'm going to bend the knees, plant the feet, and then I want to stack my right ankle up on top of my left knee. And this is just going to be done in a very casual way. It's not going to be like a really tight exercise kind of pose. So I'm just going to casually right ankle on top of left knee. So I can accommodate that by stretching out the left leg as much as I need to just keep it pretty casual. Okay. I'm going to take the ball that's in my right hand and stick it underneath my right sitting bone, approximate sitting bone. Okay. So this is where I've got a little bit of weight in my wrist, so I can always kind of back up against the wall if I need. My left sitting bone becomes my pivot point, and my right becomes the emphasis of the massage. So I'm going to kind of slowly pivot around, start to get a little bit of sensation. I can immediately tell that I need the ball a little bit further up. That's going to get me some more. And then as I'm moving around, I think about right there is probably my highest number in terms of sensitivity. So I'm going to pause there. I'm going to maybe even lean into it, breathe, and wait for that sensation to fade before I go searching for another one. So we're going to be here for just a few minutes. Once your sensation fades, which could take 2 cycles of breath, it could take 20 cycles of breath, depending on how much tension you have in that area. You're going to go looking for another one. Feel free to move the ball if you need to with your hand. Feel free to lean over into it. We just don't want to be kind of hovering that left side. We want to keep this pretty relaxed. And then feel free to move anything or move the ball around from anything from the sitting bone area all the way to the outer hip area. If People are going to be different depending on their tension, depending on, their hobbies, what they choose to do all day. Ooh, that's a good one. I'm going to take a couple cycles of breath here to ease this one out, and then we will switch to the other side. All right, I'm going to slowly bring that ball out. I'm going to drop that leg to uncross, and I'm going to switch the ball to the left hand. Okay, so again, casual cross of the legs, and this side could be very different depending on if you're dealing with something in this hip, and then the ball underneath the sitting bones. Feel free to back up to a wall. Feel free to come down to your elbows if this is more comfortable on the wrists. Sometimes it's just not quite as intense, which might be a really good thing if you're dealing with a side that is more sensitive. So I'm going to start this rocking motion. I can already tell this side is grumpier than my right, so I'm probably going to have a few more spots that I'll pause on. Ooh, that's a good one right there. So I'm going to pause, hang out, take a big breath. And the idea is to just let that muscle go, to find more ease and less effort. The more effort you find, the more that muscle is going to resist this and even kind of push the tennis ball out. And then there's not a lot of benefits to the massage. But if you can really just melt and relax and accept that pressure, the body does a whole slew of really good things to help this muscle stay healthier and more functional. So feel free to move around, move the ball. We've got another minute here as we just kind of become curious about the outer hips and how the muscle that we are currently massaging influences not only the outer hips but also low back. Sometimes this right here can do a enormous amount of good for low back tension that you might feel. A couple more seconds here. Oh, there's a good spot. All right. Just as with the other side, I'm going to kind of slide that leg out so that I can take that ball out and relax. And then I'm going to put this ball away. I'm going to get rid of my blocks, organize my space for Shavasana. Don't skip Shavasana. I know it's so easy with online classes. As you roll on back, it's going to be important for you to give the brain a little bit of feedback. So I'm going to lengthen out the legs and just feel out that low back and those outer hips and just notice how this is different from the beginning of class. We're going to come back to the very first thing that we did in class by taking the feet mat distance apart, dropping both knees over to the right, and just notice the sensation in the outer hip. Is it the same? Hopefully very, very different. Thigh bones might be closer to the floor. Maybe there's not as much zinginess or as much tug. And then take the knees all the way over to the left. Feel out this side. Maybe the sides seem more symmetrical than they were before. And then bring it back to center. Take a nice big full body stretch, reaching through the fingers, reaching through the toes, lengthen out the spine, and then exhale, hands down by the sides. So organize yourself so that you're in the most comfortable possible position. And today for Shavasana, I'm going to introduce a breathing technique for us to use as a single point of focus if you'd like. So first and foremost, always come into the breath because the breath dictates how the body responds. Big inhales to fill up the belly, the ribs, and the chest. Slow, controlled exhale, squeezing out the old air. Feel the evenness between the inhale and exhale, not only in pace, but in texture, in quality. Then begin to push the exhales down the body, relaxing layer by layer. So unfurrowing the brow, dropping the jaw. Smoothing down any wrinkles in the back line of the body, all the way from the shoulder blades down through the low back, backs of the hamstrings, backs of the calves, the heels. And push a few exhales down the front line of the body, making sure that the chest is open and relaxed, shoulder head's heavy, core is relaxed, hips are natural, no energy being stored here or being used to hold the legs in place. And then if you'd like that breathing technique, I want you to go ahead and visualize a square at the forefront of the mind. So 4 equal sides. It can be however big you want, whatever color you like. But just imagine that 4 sides of a square, perfect, even, symmetrical. Once you have a visualization of that square, go ahead and find the top corner. On your inhale, I want you to slide across the top of that square as if you're drawing it. On your exhale, slide down the side. Inhale across the bottom and exhale back to your starting position. Again, inhale to draw the top of the square. Exhale to draw the side. Inhale to draw the bottom. And exhale back to your starting position. Continue to draw square after square with your breath, letting your breath be a paintbrush that isn't rushed at all. We want the pace of our paintbrush to be the pace of our breath. We don't want the breath to beat the paintbrush to the corners. And we'll take a few more squares here, letting the breath guide the mind. So there's just a little bit of movement. And this just a little bit of attention here is going to let all of the things fade into the background. Going to give ourselves that much needed reset button. Keeping the eyes closed. Finish off the square that you're currently drawing. No rushing, no cheating. All the way around all four sides. And then whenever you've reached back to your starting position, just hold there, hang out, take a breath. And then you're going to allow that visualization of the square to fade into the background, knowing that it is there for you to use whatever you need throughout your day. And when you're ready, go ahead and reach the hands up overhead. Take a full body stretch, lengthen it out. Draw the knees into the chest. Give yourself a big squeeze to release the low back, and be feeling out how the hips have changed, the low back has changed, recognizing the work that you put both in and out of the body. And then when you're ready, slowly roll over to the right side using the arm as a pillow. This is our reset button, so take the time to inhale what you need, the good calm energy of the room, and to exhale anything you wish to leave behind today that shouldn't follow you off the mat. When you feel ready, you're going to slowly roll yourself on up to a seated position. Sit up nice and tall in the spine, hands at heart center and chin towards the chest. Thank you so very much for joining me for this class, for taking the time to look out after you, to make sure and fill your cup, recognizing that it's impossible to serve others from an empty one. It was my honor to lead you through class. Namaste.